Nobody likes conflict.
Yeah.
Nobody likes war.
Mhm.
However, we all need to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? We all like to. We all, those of us a long, long way away, always like to have a look in and see what's going on
Yep.
because we're safe. So there you are.
There you go. We're all right, Jack.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We're limited, however, as to the information we receive from the battlefield. If there isn't a neutral reporter embedded with the troops, either side,
Yeah.
we only have the military spokespeople from either side.
Mm.
So in Ukraine, for example, Zelensky will say that the Ukrainians are attacking a certain area, a new front of attacking
Yeah.
going on. And Putin will be saying that they are beating the Ukrainians back.
Yeah.
Right. So Zelensky won't say we're going into this space, but the Russians are beating us back.
Yeah.
He'll only give half the story, and we're all to think, well, the Ukrainians are advancing,
Yeah.
and then Putin says all of a sudden, well, no, we're beating them back. They're just not getting anywhere.
Mm.
And of course, it's vice versa as well. Putin can say we're doing this, and
Yeah.
then the Ukrainians will say what they got to say. It seems, however, that the Ukraine side is being a little economical with the truth. How do I know this? It's because even publications like the Daily Mail are promoting Zelensky's claims and they slip in the phrase unverified video or unverified reports.
Yeah.
That's just to save their back
Oh yeah.
from being accused of publishing the wrong thing. Of course,
Mm.
Daily Mail, they never report anything from the Russian side, unless, of course, somebody from the Ukrainian side said that Russia has killed so many civilians,
Yeah.
even though we don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, like I said, un, 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 unverified reports say.
Yeah.
So how can we tell how things are actually going on the battlefield? Right? Uh, One of the best places to look is off the battlefield, is away from the battlefield. For example, since 2022, 96,000 Ukrainian troops went AWOL. Last month, 1,700 of their soldiers uh, who were sent to the front deserted their posts. This week in France, where some Ukrainian soldiers are being sent to France for training
Yeah.
purposes. I think they get their 6 weeks training or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Dozens of them went AWOL as well.
Mm.
That says that during their training period for the 155th Mechanized Brigade, a Ukrainian flagship unit. It's supposed to be the bee's knees
Yeah.
Ukrainian army. To roust up the numbers of conscripts, Ukraine has lowered the age of conscriptions because the older guys have either been killed or wounded
Yeah.
in battle. Uh, and even press gangs have been taking the streets, breaking the arms of those refusing to do it, refusing to go with them to do their training and to be conscripted.
Yeah.
This we know as fact. This we know because even the dubious Daily Mail has claimed that it's true. And of course, there's the videos that we see,
Yeah.
unverified, of course. So this must send a message to Zelensky and indeed the rest of the world that what might be coming out as information through official channels might not be as accurate as it is seen. You know, we only have a guesstimate
Yeah.
of things going on. But if things in the conflict with Ukraine was more hunky-dory, none of the above would be taking place.
Mm.
You wouldn't get soldiers going AWOL. You wouldn't get civilians' arms being broken because they won't go along with the press gangs.
Yeah.
You know, so there's something amiss there. So, you know, that's we can only take that. It doesn't matter what you read in the newspaper. You have to look between the lines and also look at the information at street level
Yeah.
to find out what's going on. There you are, short and sweet. That's what's happening in Ukraine.
Right.
Make
Well,
your own, make your own assumptions based on that.
I remember when the conflict first started. Okay, we call it conflict, whatever.
Yeah,
Dispute,
yeah.
hot dispute. First started. Um, there were videos coming out of attacks and things like this from the Ukrainian official Ministry of Defense, and gamers. You know, if you're switching the gamers, will recognise the scenes from there. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's from this game. Yeah. I mean, that's look on first glance, it looked realistic. Yeah.
What about that pilot that never existed?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. This happens in war. I remember. Well, I know it's true because I actually read it somewhere as well. One book behind me, I think. I think the famous film, The Battle of Britain. Well, famous in England, UK, probably America. There was a scene with it on Laurence Olivier, I think, was playing Lord Downing. Yeah, not regarded as one of the most flamboyant people ever around, but an efficient man, administrator, nevertheless. Yeah, head of bomber command. If anyone wants to know. And yeah, there was an attack on on Britain. Yeah, and mainly London, and he got commented that the British government or the British War Ministry was claiming so many kills and all that. And this journalist phoned him up because, believe it or not, even during wartime, there was such a thing as integrity with the press corps, the British press corps. They didn't like to report fake news, even if it's for the war effort. Yeah, they'd sooner not report than report fake news. Yeah, like very much today. Um, and yeah, and they asked him. This guy challenged him. Is this true? You know, this doesn't seem to make sense. And his reply was, "If we're right, all well and good. You know, it'd be okay. If we're wrong, Hitler will be traveling down Whitehall within a month." Yeah, and that was his reply. I think there was a bit of yeah. He knew that probably halfway it was true and halfway it was false. Yeah. Um, given that Britain wasn't the only side doing this, and their allies weren't the only side doing it. I mean, to be quite honest, Britain used to release false information to the Americans as well, for various reasons as well. I didn't tell them things because to be quite honest, then the Pentagon on the American um, military was considered to be as leaky as anything else. Yeah, by the time they, yeah. But anyway, let's go back. But propaganda is propaganda. Um, we all war. They often say about war, the first casualty is truth. Yeah, and I think this is being particularly shown up certainly in the Ukrainian conflict. Forgetting the other conflicts going on at the moment, we all know what happened with them. Yeah. Um, I mean, what side do you believe? I mean, we can't substantiate any piece of information we've got at all. I saw a picture from supposedly Ukraine of these cars being blown on the sides and everything else. And now, I'm no military expert or explosive experts, but yeah, I do notice there's an explosion, things blow on there. That mainly windows might have to be smashed as well. The windows are all intact behind. Now, I might be wrong. There might be a perfectly logical reason why this wasn't the case. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody could write below and explain it to me. Yeah, I've looked into this, but it's got pointed out by people. This photograph, they couldn't even be bothered to Photoshop it properly, if you like. So it's probably an actual picture. They've just gone on and done things. Yeah. Or, I mean, when you've seen pictures of wounded, um, we might see pictures of the opposite side. Okay. In this case, Ukrainians showing Russians. How do we know they're Russians? How do we know they're Russians? Yeah. There's not an obvious distinction, with all due respect, between Ukrainians and Russians. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's some conflicts you can obviously see there will be a marked difference for various reasons. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying Ukraine are out and out lying. They're in a horrible situation, as we often say, whatever Russia use a justification with, and we can argue for provocation and everything. They're in a horrible situation. And yeah, they're gonna try and win minds all the time. They're in a difficult situation of proving that the investments being sent to them are yielding results. I don't think Ukraine are actually expected to outright win the conflict. I think they're expected to keep the Russians occupied. And I think that's what they're meant to be doing. Possibly if they started to actually turn around and win it outright, they'd find that, oh, you don't need any of this equipment anymore. You're doing quite well to stop them actually doing it. Because once they do that, Russia's then not occupied anymore and yeah, can do other things. There's a lot going on. But getting back to your idea of the propaganda and everything else, yeah, it's not new. It's a very much a war of attrition. Um, you're dealing with two sides that think very much the same way as well, between the Ukrainians and the Russians. Where the Ukrainians have a problem, like I've just highlighted, is they've got the entire Western Europe, if not the US, sitting on their back at the moment, watching, wanting to know things. And they're in an awful place. I don't know what the future will hold. I just know Ukraine, whatever happens next, are not going to be responsible for their own future. They're going to be owned by someone, be it Russia
Yeah,
or
the point I was trying to make in this
mm,
podcast is not to rely
yeah,
on the
yeah.
spokespeople, you know, it's to
Well,
have a look at what's happening on the ground, and that'll give you a better idea of what's going on.
well, that's what
So,
I'm saying. But they've got to sell the idea that they're being successful.
which is
They've
why I
had
say you can't accept them at their word, because that's
mm,
automatically that's what they're going to do. You have to look at what's happening on the ground.
well,
If Ukraine was making huge advances, there would be no AWOLs,
no,
or
well,
certainly not to the extent of what there are.
well, it does.
For example, there are 500,000
Mm,
arrests made or charges made
yeah,
against Ukrainian men
mm,
trying to avoid the conscription,
mm. Well, it's a
right?
death sentence.
So
Yeah,
that tells you, I don't think all of a sudden that the Ukraine is a peace-loving kumbaya nation, and half the male population don't want to go to war, never want to go to war. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen on the Russian side,
no, we know it does.
right?
Yeah,
Um, but however, for example, conscripts from Russia
mm,
are still being conscripted without having their arms broken, or
mm,
without a press gang
yeah,
going after them, and the conscripts don't go to the front line. They
mm,
do a year's training
mm.
back home.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So it shows that Putin isn't really worried about the number of soldiers he's got on the front line, and it seems like that Zelensky is
well,
simply simply because of the strategy of the conscription.
we've been saying for over a year he's going to literally run out of bodies. His bodies are going to turn into bodies. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm amazed they've kept going as long as they have, to be quite honest.
Me too.
Um, why is that? How is that happening? okay, we could argue the Russians are probably so inefficient at fighting. It's probably, I mean, this conflict has probably exposed a lot of problems with the Russian side, despite whatever they might be claiming. They've got a lot of inefficiencies, and they keep changing. Apparently, they keep changing the people at the top because they're not performing. Yeah, I mean, it is a proxy major European war. It really is. It's a war between Russia and Western Europe that's never happened up to yet. Yeah, the Ukrainians are taking the brunt, but like I say, they've got to justify everything. Um, if the truth does get out, I mean, I still, well, I think the general consensus is that Russia have all but won it. But why aren't Russia making that the final advance and doing it, getting into a position where they could say, you talk now, or just take the whole of Ukraine?
You are not the only one. France, Germany, Hungary,
Mm,
Belarus
yeah.
have all said the same thing, that
Mm,
they need to stop the fighting now and sit around a table and thrash it out, you know, duke it out between the two sides around the table
I
and come to some sort. And almost all the European nations are saying that Ukraine are going to have to lose some ground, lose some ground,
yeah,
literal ground.
yeah.
You know, they're going to lose part of the country.
Which, yeah, can be argued it's the people there might make that decision for them. But
Yeah.
um argument's sake, but
Well, I think they already have. You
yeah.
know, the
But
Donbass regions and
yeah,
Crimea, the people have already made their voices heard.
yeah. But it's a I suspect on January the 22nd there might be a little bit of a stronger impetus to do that. I might be wrong. Yes, I might be wrong. I mean, somebody else passed the rhetoric of they could end the battle, was it in 24 hours or 48 hours or something? They might be called to prove their point as well. Yeah.
Right now apparently somebody in the US who's going to be part of the next administration has said
Mm.
100 days. 100 days it'll be sorted.
Well, let's hope so. Well, let's hope it gets sorted soon, one way or another. Because, like you said, none of us like to war. I don't like to see people of anyone, any side dying. Um, especially, obviously, especially in Europe, where it's tension, and especially between powers that could do a lot more in a situation of escalation.